Money was never the solution. And the reason it was never the solution is because money cannot change what creates problems to begin with. It can only respond to what has already happened. And that means it can only operate at the level of effect, not cause. This is why the world's problems continue to persist, despite humanity throwing more and more money at them than ever before. Corruption, abuse, inequality, deprivation, dysfunction, disease, and war. Different expressions, same structure. All of them are problems of consciousness first, before they ever become physical realities. But under seeing is believing, human beings attempt to solve everything physically because they believe the physical world is the starting point of reality. It isn't. It's the end point, the effect. And once something is already physically happening, ask yourself, what can you really change? Nothing. Because by the time something becomes physical, it's already happened. That is why dealing with life only at the level of effect means you will always be affected by what is happening. This is why money cannot solve problems, because money is physical. It exists primarily to acquire physical things. And when you throw a physical solution at a problem, you are unconsciously declaring that the physical level is where reality begins. But reality does not begin physically. Reality begins spiritually, at the level of intention. Then mentally, then emotionally, and only then does it arrive physically. That is the true process of cause and effect. So if you're only dealing with life at the final stage of the process, you are not solving anything. You are managing what has already occurred. That is exactly what money does. It manages loss. It mitigates consequence. It slows deterioration. But it cannot prevent the problem from happening, which means it is not truly a solution, because a real solution restores control. That is what a solution actually is, because the moment you lose control, you call it a problem. The moment control is restored, the problem disappears. But money cannot restore real control, because money cannot stop fear from creating the conditions that generate problems. And fear is a real issue, because fear is what causes human beings to unconsciously abdicate control of their attention, and attention is power. Because where your attention goes, your reality follows. Because attention is directed by intention, and intention is spirit. See, this is why the spiritual nature of reality is not mystical. It is practical, because it is the starting point for everything that happens. Because every problem begins first through unconscious alignment. Fear first, then attention, then experience, then physical outcome. That is the sequence. And when humanity does not understand this process, it becomes trapped inside what appears to be reality, instead of understanding what is creating it. So it looks for more money, more management, more physical solutions, while the root cause continues unchanged. This is why the more money humanity throws at its problems, the larger those problems become. Because increasing management does not mean increasing control. It means the loss of control is accelerating. That is what it really means. And now that acceleration is becoming impossible to ignore, because humanity is beginning to confront something it has avoided for a very long time. That reality does not begin with things, it begins with consciousness. And what changes the world is not a what, it is a who. You. Because whether you realize it or not, you are participating in the process of creation from beginning to end. Once that is understood, you no longer search for salvation through money or systems or physical outcomes. You return to the only place real change has ever begun, within. And within means this: you are the starting point, because you are the one using attention to create reality in the first place. Humanity is moving through a collective correction in perception that will shape the foundation of its reality. To understand the structural architecture behind this correction, why it is unfolding, why it is irreversible, and why it is not a philosophy but a governing structure, it is mapped in the book, The Meaning of Life.